All right. Welcome everyone to the 2020 APAC Groundbreakers Virtual Tour by Apaco UC. This year, our event will be the biggest one ever done with 174 sessions, including normal sessions, workshops, and hands-on labs from 123 different speakers over 11 days. Also, it will cover sessions on 4 different languages. Please remember to register to as many sessions as you can, and all sessions will be available to replay as many times as you want for 2 weeks after the initial session date and time. You can also interact with the speaker at any time during that 2 weeks by posting questions or comments directly in the playback page of the session. I would like to say thanks to all Oracle user groups and Java user groups that made this event possible, and also to our sponsors, Oracle Groundbreakers and CloudDB. Now for today's session, uh, get ready for the brain overload with Oracle Database 12.2, 18C, 19C, and 12C features with Charles Kim. And if you have any questions during this session, please feel free to use the Q&A tab on the Zoom webinar to enter your questions, and Charles will be answering them at the end of the webinar. If you have any technical issues or problems that you want to handle it, please let me know as the moderator by using the chat tab of the Zoom webinar. Q&A tab for questions for Charles, the speaker, and chat for any questions, comments, suggestions to me as the moderator. Saying that, I will leave you now with Charles Kim to do his great presentation. As always, I'm sure this will be an amazing session. All right, Charles, I am now stop sharing my screen and you can start sharing yours, and I will put myself in mute.
All right. Thanks, everybody, um, for taking the time out of your busy schedule today to come listen to me talk on Oracle 12.2, 18C, 19C, 20C new features. Um, this particular presentation I've been doing across, I guess, uh, internationally and also in America. And I started out just doing 12.2 features for a full hour, and then 18 for a full hour. And now I'm condensing 20, 19C, and 18C out there. And you're going to hear sprinkles of 12 tuning features throughout the presentation. And so bear with me. A little bit about myself. I am an ACE director. Been doing Oracle for, I hate to say it, but 28, 29 years. I'm also an ex-Oracle consultant. Started out in the industry doing Oracle and have been doing Oracle ever since. Have written 10 books in the Oracle ecosystem, from Exadata to Linux, Solaris, 11G new features, DataGuard, ASM, Cloud, and now the big hype is on pluggable databases. And so we did a second edition of this book last year for Open World. And prior to that, we couldn't get people to take a book at any of the conferences. But when Oracle at the conference made the announcement that starting in 19C, customers are going to be able to get 3 pluggable databases for free. And starting in 20C, you must be in a multi-tenant with at least 1 PDB. And so ever since then, I can't keep another of these books in stock. If you're interested, and let me know. It'd be difficult to ship 1 copy, but I can ship like a box or 2 to Francisco to distribute to customers. And so we are making a new book of this book, and we are going to Kindleize it this time. This particular book can't be Kindled because we have so much code examples. And so on the new book, we found a workaround to do it. And so also I do 1-hour presentations on pluggable databases, and we do workshops. And so please just let me know if you're interested in any of that. Like I said, we've been around the business since 2011. We're a platinum partner with Oracle and also a platinum partner with Quest. In our team, we also have Rich Nemec, who is our CIO, and he does all the performance tuning. And what you see bloated on this slide is the 12.2 performance tuning book. And also on our team, from an Oracle ACE perspective, we have Sean Scott and Gary Gordhamer. Just a high-level agenda. We're going to go through the release dates. We're going to go through new features of 20C, 19C, and 18C, and time permitting, go through 12.2. Like I said before, I used to do just 1 hour presentations on 12.2 new features, and obviously we're not going to be able to go through all of them. And so if you want a copy, please jot down my email address and feel free to ask me for a copy, and I'll be more than happy to send it to you. Also, another presentation that I do is on DBA 3.0. I'm doing it for the Australia Oracle User Group on the 12th. And my topics are a little different than what most people talk about. It's not just about autonomous. Talk about the heterogeneous DBA, the converged database, and even talk in the talk talks a lot about clouds, different clouds, as well as other database vendors. We also do workshops, and on our workshops, we focus only on 19C upgrades. So we've done 4 of these already, 4 separate topics, and we're doing our 5th one on pluggable databases. If you're interested, please let us know. And the cool thing is that the way that we do our workshops, it's all browser based. So you can literally be anywhere in the world, and we can give you access to our hands-on lab workshop. So jot down that URL and feel free to participate. All right, so like I said, I've been doing Oracle since the 90s, and our industry has evolved over the years. And so with Oracle 12.1 and 12.2, 18C, 19C, the whole concept of the pluggable DBA and the pluggable databases, that's the direction that Oracle is going to. A lot of the new technologies are going to is heavily invested in the multi-tenant option. You have probably heard in the past couple of years about DBA 3.0, the autonomous database and heterogeneous DBAs. And now with 2020, you're going to hear a lot of talks on the converged database, how Oracle now is the converged database. And so with newer features from 12.2, Oracle allowed customers to create partitions off of HDFS and Hive, and 18C and 19C allows from that particular feature to have what we call the hybrid partitioning table. Now you can actually have from different partitions. One partition could be off HDFS, another partition could be off of data pump exports, another partition could be off of Hive, another partition could be off of relational. And so now Oracle has fully embraced things like Mongo capabilities. In 20C, for example, the JSON data type is available in 20C as a binary JSON, very much similar to what Mongo and Cassandra have. And so now those technologies are fully vetted and part of the database, thus the database being called the converged database, all right? And I'll talk more about that later. So let's look at release dates. A lot of you guys are on either 11.2 or 12.102 and are on the upgrade path to upgrading to 19C. And so we actually call these customers terminal release to terminal release customers. And if I was talking in front of you right now, I would ask how many of you are actually one of these customers and get a show of hands. And so if you look at this table and look at what's highlighted in red and what's highlighted in purple, you'll see that, and also 12.102 in black, you'll see that 11GR2 was released in September 2009. That's over 11 years ago. And if you look at 12.102, that's June of 2014. That's over 6 years ago. And so a lot of the customers are actually upgrading to 19C now, but as you can see, 19C made GA for Exadata in February, and for the rest of the world, it was released in April. So 19C has been around for about a year and a half for the general public, and for Exadata customers even longer. You can also see that 20C is only in preview release right now and only available in Oracle Cloud. All right, so this slide is very, very busy, but it has all the information that you're looking for. So for example, 11204, it's going to go out of support at the end of this year. And so when I say out of support, out of extended support. And so you will not be able to get patches for 11204 unless you buy what we call market-driven support. And I'll talk about that in the next slide. 12102 actually got extended another year. And so from an extended support perspective, you can buy additional year until July 31st of 2022. If you look at 12.2 release 2 or 12.201, it got what we call a limited error correction support. And so Oracle extended support for 16 more months. But however, it only applies for SEV1 packages, SEV1 tickets, and for security updates only. Now 12.202, which is 18C, is not going to get extended support. And so it is what we call an innovation release. And so you're going to hear a lot more about innovation releases with Oracle. But basically, what Oracle is saying is that for innovation releases, you're only going to get 2 years of support, and no extended support is going to be available. So for 18C customers, the premier support ends on June 8th of next year, which means that the last available patch for 18C customer is going to be April of next year. So now we'll go into 19C. 19C, the premier support actually got extended too, and it's going to be April of 2024. And also with 19C, Oracle is going to provide extended support for another 3 years. And so if you go on to 19C and if you purchase extended support, that means that you can have coverage until 2027. And so there's two tips that factoids a lot of customers don't know. Number one is that if you're running Oracle E-Business Suite, you get extended support for free. And number two, if you are running EULA's unlimited license with Oracle, you get extended support for free as well. And so that's something to look at as well. As you can see, 20C again is preview only, and 21C is innovation, and 22 is currently slated to be on extended support. And so a lot of these things are subject to change, and I already know that some of these things are going to change, but we're not entitled to provide that to you guys yet. We can't talk about it until Larry talks about it, as you guys know. All right, so we talked about 12.102 getting extended, 11.204 being market-driven. What does that mean? That means that the cost of market-driven support varies by customer, and it's not cheap. You're going to be assigned. You can be assigned a technical account manager. You get like 2 remote sessions, and up to 4 people in your company can attend. You get guidance and advice to be able to upgrade to 19C, and you'll be able to log SEV1 and SR still. Oracle can provide you security updates, but it's on their defined schedules. But customers who just can't get off of 11.204 can purchase market-driven support. 11.204 extended support, like I said, it goes into July of 2022. And then 12.201 is extended for 16 months, but only for SEV1 issues and security updates only. All right, so let's talk about 19C. One of the biggest features that people talk about 19C is the DML redirection for DataGuard. And so basically this technology and capability has been around for a while, but it was where you as a customer had to actually architect it and implement it yourself. And so, and I just know more about it because I just happen to have written a DataGuard book with the product managers. But prior to 19C, what customers were doing were creating DB links that pointed back to the primary. And in the active data guard, they were able to do inserts across the DB link back to the primary, and the redo transaction would flow back to the standby database, get applied, and you'll be able to see that data. And so that now, that the entire architecture is done via a single one parameter now. And so we actually do a data guard workshop, and this is something that we actually do as part of our labs. As you can see, February 2019, 19C was made available for the Exadata. And now what you're going to see is that in 20C, it's only available in preview mode for Oracle Cloud only. So Oracle, and so does, and Viscosity does too, we strongly recommend that all customers upgrade to 19C. 19C is a terminal release, and it's the release that you're going to get your long-term support. Okay, and so, and as you can see, extended support dates for 19C has literally changed. So last year when I was presenting, it was March 31st of 2023. Now it's April 30th. So Oracle literally extended it by a full year. All right, so what do you do if you're on 18C now? So like I said before, if you're on 18C, from a patching perspective, the last available patch is April of next year. And so for our customers who are on 18C right now, we're applying the release update for them to 1810. At the end of the year or beginning of the year, we're going to take them to 1812 or 1811, depending on if the customer follows the N-1 policy, which we recommend to a lot of our customers. And then at the same time, we're planning and helping them upgrade to 19C. And so, and unfortunately, we do have customers who just upgraded to 18C and our new customers, and we're like, why did you go there? And so we're actually aggressively helping them go to 19C as well. EBS customers, they got lucky because Oracle extended their, provided another year of extended support. But again, if you're not an EBS customer, you're paying an extra 20% uptick for the extra year. And so also with EBS customers, as they're upgrading to 19C, they are going to be forced to be on pluggable databases or on a single PDB multi-tenant architecture as they go to EBS and upgrade to 19C. All right, so let's talk about what you're not going to get in 19C. DBMS jobs is it's not going away, but Oracle made the announcement that DBMS job is going to be replaced by scheduler. It's going to be there, supported for backwards compatibility, but they're strongly recommended to the customers to port to DBMS scheduler. In fact, as part of the upgrade, Oracle will convert your or create entries for you to DBMS scheduler. Oracle Media is just completely going away, is no longer supported, and implementation is actually removed. Oracle Streams also is no longer supported, and as part of the 19C upgrade, we recommend to our customers either to go to Golden Gate or SharePlex or HVR or Attunity. We're partners with all of the major data replication vendors, and we do a lot of zero downtime upgrades and migrations. And so we recommend definitely port to that before you start your upgrade. Also, as part of the strategy, Oracle's no longer supporting RAC for standard edition customers. And so that's something that you need to think about. And also from a RAC perspective, a lot of customers are upgrading to 18C with standard edition so they can stay on RAC, but they're forgetting that as of April of next year, if you don't pay for, number one, you don't get extended support option. That means that you will not be able to get patches at all. No more release updates, right? So this is just to show you that 11.204 is extended support only goes up to December 30th of 2020. And again, to show you that 12.1 did get extended support, but until July 2022, and you have to pay an extra 20%. Notice that it went from Wave from July 19th. I mean, So Oracle, what they did was they just kept on extending the extended support. In the first couple of years, Oracle basically gave all the customers free extended support. More for 11.2, I think 12.1 only got 1 year, but what they're doing is now they're extending the extended support for 12.1 and 2. All right. And so 20C, starting in 20C, you must be containerized. And what Oracle did was last year at Open World, they announced that in 19C, you can have up to 3 pluggable databases. Well, this actually changes how we do upgrades and how we do migrations and how we do patches. And so I'll go over that in a few slides. And so starting with 12.2 also, the concept of PSUs went away. Now we have a concept of release updates and release update revisions. And so think of a RU as like a proactive bundle patch, and think of an RUR like a PSU. And so there's some other announcements too in this slide. Starting in 12.1, Oracle quit making security updates, SPUs by itself. And so now SPUs are all bundled in as part of the PSU. And also in 11.2, Oracle made the announcement, what they call first patch apply. Now you can apply PSUs, RUs on the DataGuard site, and then switch over and then apply the RUs on your primary site and switch back to be able to do a near zero downtime patch apply process. And so this one is just a Metal Lake node ID to indicate that starting with 12.102, security patches are now, and also CPUs are now part of the bundle, PSU patching. All right. All right, so let's talk about considerations as we upgrade to 19C. Obviously, when we upgrade to 19C, we in the past have leveraged DB upgrade, and DB upgrade is nothing more than a wrapper that goes up and leverages a CAD upgrade, and also DBUA. And so let's talk about DBUA first. And so DBUA GUI is definitely the choice that a lot of people make. I'm not a big fan of the GUI. It's mainly because I find it takes a lot longer. There's additional, from a X Windows and everything else. It just, some customers just don't allow us to do a GUI method of upgrading. And so we do DBUA in silent mode, and I'll go through that in the next slides as well. But for those who are the GUI folks, definitely it is it simplifies the upgrade. You just have to worry about, for example, some of the security concerns that I mentioned before. And also from a DBUA perspective, we used to use it exclusively for upgrading EBS, but it complicated our upgrade process at one of our customers. And in fact, the upgrade ran long and it failed in the middle. We fixed it, ran DBUA again, and then when it failed the second time, that's when I got woken up, and when I logged on, I was like, guys, why are we using the GUI? And we just ran the CAD upgrade, and we finished the upgrade within the next hour. And so, but definitely DBUA from a silent mode, we definitely recommend. And so from DBUA perspective, there's parameters you can say to do it in parallel, recompile invalid objects along the way, upgrade the time zones, and also perform the post fix up scripts. And so as part of DBUA, we can actually automate this process. And then we run a report at the end that shows us if all the components upgraded successfully or not. All right. So starting in 19C, Oracle introduced this concept of an auto upgrade. So you're going to be hearing a lot of guys talk about auto upgrade. There is a minimum Java requirement version. And from an auto upgrade perspective, we can actually upgrade databases from 11.204 to 19C, 18C, and even 12.2 using the auto upgrade. The auto upgrade jar ships with a 19C binary, so you don't have to download it, but you can actually download it and upgrade 11.204 to other intermediary targets as well. All right, so the cool thing about the auto upgrade is that it does all of the pre-upgrade tasks for you, runs a pre-upgrade auto upgrade fix-up scripts, actually does the upgrade. And the cool thing about auto upgrade is that when it fails, it knows where it failed, and it'll actually go resume where and try again. And you can actually schedule the upgrade, and you can and also changing the .over parameters along the way. So it's got a lot of cool features that a lot of people are interested in. And Sean actually does a presentation on auto upgrade full hour by itself as well. And so, like I said before, source 11.204 or higher, target can be 19C, 19.3 and higher, 18.5 and 12.2. You could actually download the tool based on the MetaLink note that I provided here, and go through the upgrade process as well, right? So this is a sample auto upgrade that we did. We took a 12.102 database and upgraded it to 19C, and you do have to build a config file, specify your source home, target home, when you want to start, if the target's got PDBs, run UDORP along the way, upgrade time zones, source version, target versions, and then you go into an analyze mode, and then you actually deploy it. So there's mechanisms to, from an analyze perspective, deploy in the same node versus analyzing and upgrading on a different target node. So, all right, so that's things to think about. Oops, I just went through this. So from a pre-upgrade perspective, if you're doing DBUA or if you're doing the manual method, now Oracle has a pre-upgrade jar. You actually run that with a Java command, and it'll actually tell you, here's the area you should be looking at. Here's the UDORP, here are the invalid objects, et cetera, et cetera. And so it actually ships with 19C, but you can actually download it separately for older versions. We also recommend that you download the diagnostic scripts, DB upgrade diagnostic scripts, and we actually use it as part of our best practice to run it before the upgrade and also run it after the upgrade. And here's basically a list of pre-upgrade checks that we recommend customers doing. Obviously, I can spend a full hour just going through some of these upgrade checks, all right? But I'm gonna go right through it because we have a lot more features to talk about. As part of the upgrade, make sure you purge the DB recycle bin. This is part of the pre-upgrade fix-up scripts that it does for you. Make sure that you have all the valid components, UDORP to compile all the invalids, remove components that are no longer needed. And this will actually speed up the upgrade, but more so eliminate some of the risks that you're dealing with, right? Ultra search, rules manager, OLAP. Just get rid of it ahead of time, right? We tell all of our customers to preserve your stats. Generally, we tell our customers, if you're gonna upgrade, if you're gonna know ahead of time, set your AWS repository to be at least 30 days. 40 days is even better. And that's mainly because people go through month-end reporting, and as a result, you want to be able to compare last month-end to previous month-end. And if you're one of those customers that have space, you can actually we have customers that actually have AWR retention to 90 days because they have to compare quarter-end reports. And so also at the same time, for DBAs and also for super developers, make sure you know how to compare your AWR diffs. And so prior to the upgrade and after the upgrade, that you can actually see the difference in some of your queries. All right, also, as part of the upgrade, make sure you create guarantee restore points. That's a must for everything you do. When you apply release updates, when you do major upgrades, create GRPs so you can actually have a failback if you need to. Obviously, back up your database, but in addition to that, have your GRP set as well. Also, if you can afford real application testing, definitely set RAT to do real workloads. And most customers have capabilities to create synthetic workloads, but definitely do performance testing before you do your upgrade. And know how to export and import your plans if you're going across source and target or even from different databases. And definitely, be able to capture your baselines in your profile so that you can actually flip plans after the upgrade, right? So 11204 can go straight to 19C. 12102 can go to 19C as well. And there's additional details from a intermediate hop. If you're on, like, for example, 12101, you have to go to 12102 or 12201 to go to a 19C. And you can look at this later on as well. If you're on 734, and I kind of joke around that 734 was the most stable release of database, you have to go from 7304 to 9208, 9208 to 11204, and then go to 19C. You're much better off just doing an export import. All right. And so right now this is October 2020. We're actually waiting for the 19.9 release to actually drop. So most of our customers are going to 19.8 right now. And even with the N-1, because we're expecting 19.9 to ship, we're actually telling our customers to go 19.8. And so 19.6 was the January release of this year. And in fact, we tell our customers at a minimum, if you're going to stick with any version, go with 19.6. But 19.8 is where we are right now. 19.9 is going to ship sometime this month, or expected to ship. And as you can see, the MetaLink notes, those notes have all the known issues that you can encounter for each of these releases in 19C. All right, so jot down the first one, 252.1164. This is where you start from a proactive what is it, MetaLink note, to be able to look at where and what patches are available, right? So, and then I'm providing in this slide all the MetaLink notes specifically for upgrading to 19C. If you're using DBUA, if you're pluggable databases, if you're going to do manual method. Also at the same time, the third to the bottom, patches to apply before upgrading to 19C. If you're 12102, for example, you must actually patch your 12102 prior to upgrading to 19C. And so that's, we got surprised by that when we were doing a lot of upgrades at the end of last year and early this year, but now we just make it a standard practice. And also provide in the very bottom all the operating system requirements to upgrade to 19C. So for you guys who are embarking on this journey now, if you're on Linux, for example, and you're on 11.2 or 12.1, most likely you're going to be on Oracle Linux 6 or Red Hat 6. And the requirement for 19C is Oracle Linux 7 or Red Hat 7. So look at that note, depending on the operating system, make sure you meet all the prerequisites. And so 20C, one of the biggest features of 20C is not only JSON, but the blockchain table. And this is where basically Oracle is in the blockchain space now. And there's, from a blockchain perspective, it only accepts inserts. Rows are cryptographed, chained and trusted, and managed as a trusted provider for security. And like I said before, in 20C, Oracle now provides a JSON data type. You're able to do JSON now, but it's on a CLOB. Now it's a binary JSON for SQL and PL/SQL. So thus scans are 10x faster, updates are 4 times faster. And from a update perspective, now allow set and remove the JSON elements. All right, so let's go straight to 20C as well. This is one of my favorite features of 20C. Everybody talks about snapshots and being able to clone. Now you can create snapshots at the file level. If you're using ACFS, you can set default table space algorithms. Data guard brokers can be created. The FARSync instance can be created with a single command. We can actually force upgrade password to be case sensitive and not allow disabling that. Data pump, you can actually do an autonomous export to cloud storage. That's pretty cool. And also auto upgrade is supposed to be improved even more. So you can actually have a single command to do your upgrades. And so a lot of these new features are right now, unfortunately, available in the cloud, but you're going to see it available to on-premise. Also, 20C gets a lot of in-memory upgrades for spatial and text and hybrid scans. And from a 20C perspective, a lot more machine learning. Now we have database extensions for Python and R, and REST APIs. And so for that reason, you're going to see a lot of people presenting on machine learning and AI. Like I said before, 20C is the first CDB release, CDB only release. Okay, so for you guys who don't have access to 19C, you can play with the features on from livesql.oracle.com. And this is how I got started when it first, before 19C even came out, it was available. And so I was playing with the features on LiveSQL, and then eventually downloaded and started implementing for all of our customers. And so another message was just making sure that people are aware it does change how we do upgrades, because now once we get to the PDB world, it's not about upgrading the database in place. It's migrating the PDB from, let's say, 19C to a 20C container, and then patching the PDB from a data patch perspective, or from just doing the DB upgrade piece to upgrade the metadata. Okay, and so it changes how we do data set migrations. So now with the 12.2 new features, we can move databases, migrate PDBs with zero downtime. And it changes how we do patching as well, because starting in, I forget either 18C or I think it's 18C, from a patching perspective, different PDBs can be on different patch levels, right? So let's look at, for example, consolidation. I get a lot of requests right now from customers. Can you help us architect a consolidation plan for PDBs? At least minimally, you can get a 3x to 1 consolidation rate without paying for the multi-tenant option. Well, if you really think about it, Oracle is giving customers that feature because they want customers to love it and buy it. And there's so many features in the PDB world that it can actually justify purchasing the multi-tenant option. And so here we're getting 3x to 1 consolidation rate, but at the same time, PDB meets all of the isolation requirements. PDB meets all the compliance and regulatory requirements as well. We actually have a couple of our customers doing this in Oracle Cloud, where they're actually mixing production, QA, and dev PDB on a single container. It is definitely not recommended, but for cost purposes, we actually have a couple of customers doing this. But again, it's definitely not recommended. So from a PDB migration perspective, if I'm doing maintenance, for example, on one of the servers, I can literally migrate a PDB to another container. And once the maintenance is done, I would literally move the PDB back. And so not only for hardware, but also for OS upgrades, and definitely changes how we do patching too. All right, so let's look at the evolution of the PDBs. So in 12.1, PDBs, if we were to clone a PDB, we had to put the database in read-only mode. In 12.2, we can actually clone and refresh a database without any downtime. And Larry Ellison actually demoed this at Open World that year. He actually took a pluggable database on premise and did a migration to the cloud at Open World. We can also relocate a PDB. There's a concept of a snapshot carousel that's only available at this point for Exadatas, but before I talk about that, we'll talk about refreshable pluggable databases. From a refreshable pluggable database perspective, think about a materialized view. Think about how we create materialized views that refresh on the hour, by the day, every 10 minutes. Now I can have the entire database refresh every night, for example. And what snapshot carousel is that if I refresh a pluggable database, just like a materialized view, I can actually keep up to 7 days of snapshots of that pluggable database. So I can go rewind back in time and be able to clone off of that and provision dev environments. And also, if you're using refreshable pluggable databases, we can actually do a switch over, just like you do for a data guard at the PDB level. Oracle also introduced the concept of a proxy PDB. As I move pluggable databases, I can leave a pointer, a proxy that points to the actual location of the actual database. So a proxy PDB still requires you to have system sysaugs, undo, just a generic table structure that you create, but it's actually pointing to a target somewhere else. And so, but however, when you insert, update, delete into the proxy, everything goes to the target database. And the cool thing about proxy PDBs is that all of the OCI features are fully supported. And so it's not like a database link where you're limited and you can't do DDL. You can do everything through proxy. And there's some actually use cases for it as well. PDB archives, think of it as if I can take a PDB, create you a zip file and send it to you. That's what PDB archive is. Now, lockdown profiles is an area that's getting a lot of attention too. Lockdown profiles is, think about and imagine if I can take a alter system command, strip it down, because a lot of the developers want alter system, but let's say you want to only give them the capability to tweak the PL SQL components with alter system, or to a development DBA. I only want to give him alter system kill session. I don't want to give that person other permissions of it, or I want to be able to give the application team to be able to alter system set parallel MAC servers, for example, and only give them that option. And so I can do that with a lockdown profile. And so, and the whole premise of the lockdown profile is that if I'm in a containerized database with 200 databases as a pluggable database, and I may actually have pluggable database DBAs, meaning that different people may be the DBA only specific for their pluggable database. And so I may have to give different permissions to different groups of people. And so lockdown profiles, you can actually do a lot of that. Also with lockdown profiles, I can say, do not allow the partitioning option, for example. Do not allow advanced queuing option as well. And so that's the worst, is when you find out later on down the road, when the application is about to go live, and you find out it's got a heavy dependence on advanced queues. And so, and you kind of get it caught off guard, but you can actually disable that functionality with lockdown profiles. All right, let's talk about some really cool stuff with 18C. With 18C now, when I run, when I execute one installer, I can actually apply RUs, release updates, and even apply one-offs as a single command. So what does this mean from a DBA perspective? When I do the so when you install 18C, 19C, or 20 or 12.2 even, I unzip the software, and then I just run installer run on it. And as part of the run installer, I can actually apply with 19.3 base install, patch it to 19.8, and even apply the OJVM patch, all in a single command. And so it simplifies our install significantly and reduces that downtime. I mean, it reduces that time to install. Also, if you're rack, think about this. I can apply, install 19.3 grid infrastructure, patch it to 19.8, and apply the one-off patch as well. This is huge for rack, especially 2-node, 4-node rack clusters, because typically we have to install 19.3 and then go right behind it and do OPatch auto and install 19.8, and that OPatch auto takes forever because you have to shut the cluster down, apply the patch, and then you apply 19.8, and after that you apply the one-offs. And so, and then for most customers, it's also rolling as well. And so this significantly reduces that. Also with 19C, I can do an RPM base install. So think about this. If you're a system admin, one command, I can do a pre-install RPM as a system admin. I can download the Oracle database software with a curl command, and I can do an install of the database software, and then and fully configures a 19C software, and from an RPM perspective. So now I have a fully configured software binary stack. And then if you did the RPM install, you also get some shell scripts on etcnet.d, and that allows the system admin to create databases. And so think about this, is that one command that fully configures Linux, and the system admin only has to do is just change the password for Oracle. And then right after that, he does RPM, does a 19C install, and then right after that runs the etcnet.d Oracle DB, with the Oracle DB-19 configured. Basically, it's telling it to go create a database, and boom, he has a database running. So now, for us to be able to set up an environment, we can do it with one command. I'm gonna go. Yes.
5 more minutes.
Okay, awesome. And also for people who are an 8 or want to go to Oracle Linux 8, you have to be a 19.7 or higher. You have to export an environment variable called CV assume dist ID, and you must be on 19.7 release update or minimal. And so, and that's how you would install 19C on Oracle Linux 8. Also with 18C, starting in 18C, Apex is no longer upgraded. And so you have to learn how to upgrade Apex manually. All right. So in October of this year, Apex 20.2 came out, and this is basically an instruction to actually upgrade Apex. We use the same command, Apex INS, for install SQL. You give it the table space for Apex and the temp and the image directory, and then you install Apex. All right. So we talked about the pre-upgrade fix-up script. This is the output that comes out of it. And as you can see, it checks for invalid objects, dictionary stats, prefix up objects, table space info, and RMAN recovery. And if you're going to run the DB upgrade manually, this is what it looks like. And then after you do the upgrade, you run the post fix up scripts, and basically it gathers the post dictionary stats and upgrades a time zone. But however, if you have, like I said, an older version of Apex, we strongly recommend that you upgrade that first, because it does cause this part to potentially fail. And as a result, you have to upgrade the time zone yourself. Right. So also with 19C, Oracle gives us the capability to quarantine a SQL statement. So not only can in 18C, can you actually kill a SQL statement, not the session. Now you can actually quarantine it. Unfortunately, this is only available with Exadata. We talked about rack unsupported, and here's the actual screenshot that you get if you do try it. Another feature 19C is now from a rack perspective. With DBCA, I can clone rack to rack. That's huge for a lot of people, because if you think about it, in order for me to clone a rack database, I have to literally take, from an RMAN backup perspective, I have to set cluster database to false, do the restore, do the recovery, and then convert that back to rack. Now with DBCA command line, I can actually clone rack to rack, right? Easy Connect gets improvements in the sense that I get additional options for connection timeout, retry, SDU, just like a TNS would do. I'm going to auto indexing. I'm going to go through real quick. I think you guys have heard this numerously, but it's only available for Exadata. If you do want to play, there's an underscore Exadata feature you can turn on for non-Exadata customers. And then look at the DBA auto index config view. It tells you if you have it on or off, or whether implementation mode. It tells you that logging is retained for 30 days and indexes will be retained for 373 days, and the percentage of the table space that's going to be used for auto indexing. Also look at DBA indexes. There's a column called auto, and you can look at the index names, all the sys_AI for automatic index. You can see that it's there, and there in the visibility column, you can see if it's visible or uninvisible. Oracle creates them as invisible first. They make sure that the indexes are valid, and then will give you the performance benefit, and then they'll convert it to be visible. And so you can use a DBMS auto index report for more information. It tells you how many were created as visible and invisible, space use, and how much performance you got. We talked about the active data guard DML redirection. It is a simple one command, ADG redirect DML initialization parameter, or you can do it at the session level. I put this slide on there just so that you'll be careful, because it does incur the active data guard license. Also, a lot of people don't realize that if you enable blockchain tracking on the physical standby, you're also enabling active data guard license as well. And also from a DBMS rolling perspective, rolling upgrades with active data guard, it does incur the active data guard license. So look at this for additional features. And also with one of the features that Oracle has in 18C is that with active data guard, we allow non-recoverable blocks, non-log blocks to propagate to data guard. So basically what it means is that I can have databases in no logging mode or non-recoverable mode, but in my target database, the managed recovery process will go fetch the correct blocks and allow you to data guard. So a lot of data warehouses we cannot have forced logging. Now you can do it with active data guard and also in engineered systems. All right. Also in 19C, from an observe perspective, we can do the observer can actually be in observe mode only, and then you can actually test it, simulate a failover, as well as simulating and looking at fast start failover as an option as well. So also in 19C, we have other data guard features, and I'm going to go right into some of the 18C features real quick. Is that with 18C, we have the capability to create an external table as part of a insert. And so one insert statement can create an external table, whereas previously before we had to create a table and then do an insert afterwards. And then also from a, we have this concept of multi-instance redo apply and blockchains tracking. And now with data guard in 12.2, only one instance could apply redo. Now with 18C, well, prior to 12.2, only one instance could apply redo. In 12.2, Oracle made it so that it could be one or all or many of the rack instances. And now with 18C, I can have multi-instance redo apply and blockchain tracking to get the best of both worlds, right? And so I know we're strict on time. My session is actually available as a download. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions, and I'll be able to, and we'll be happy to share any kind of response back to you. And so with that in mind, from a follow-up perspective, feel free to reach out to anybody at Viscosity. And thanks everybody for your time.
Thank you so much, Charles. Like always, excellent session. And I cannot see any questions in the Q&A tab. I just have a question in the chat asking if the book that is about pluggable databases, if it's possible to get a PDF copy instead.
Yes, we can. That's going to be a little harder because of the, what is it? Because even though we have it, it's hard because of the licensing, you know, the whole copyright rules that we have to deal with as well with the publisher. And so,
okay.
Yeah, and so we just have to wait till 19C, because that's why we're rewriting it, so we can actually provide that to all of our customers.
No problem. All right, I cannot see any questions coming through, but this session will be available to playback in the conference website for 2 weeks. During that period of time, if you have any questions to Charles, you can post your comments or questions directly in the playback session, the page for the playback session, and Charles will receive notifications and he will be able to respond any questions on his convenience. As per his convenience. Saying that, thank you so much again, Charles. Have a wonderful night, evening. I think so is for you. And for everybody else, a wonderful day. And please keep enjoying the conference. And thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everybody.